I don't have a question for you.
Oh, sorry.
Because I don't think that there's anything you can say at this point. I believe that the Wet'suwet'en have title to their land. I believe that they've gone to Delgamuukw to demonstrate their inherent rights and title. I believe that the conflict that you're making it into out west with helicopters flying overhead and paramilitaries showing up with assault rifles is appalling. And so I'm more or less here to tell you that that's shameful. And you can't pretend that this is about rule of law.
Sorry,
Oh, I'm fine with
please
being
be
interrupted
respectful.
by, supporters. That's great. But it's not about the rule of law because it's already been found in Delgamuukw. It's already been pretty clear. You say you're about communities and supporting their development and their investments, but how much money does it take for Indigenous communities to take these colonial governments to court every time just to prove what they already know, which is the Canadian government, the provincial governments have no right to be doing what they're doing. Perhaps 2 generations of your sons will be apologizing later for what's happening today. I just want you to consider that, and that I don't believe that you're this sort of sunny ways prime minister when you legislate the posties back to work. When you're out there violating Indigenous people's rights, you can put on a great facade here. I've heard more than enough people say, answer the question, and you're talking in circles. The discerning of the viewers already are aware of this. Solidarity with the Wet'suwet'en. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing that perspective. And it's an extremely important one. Are you going to stick around for my response? Or? Okay, thank you. Over the past generations and indeed centuries, Canada has failed in respecting the spirit and intent of the original treaties, of the relationship that we were supposed to have with the original inhabitants of this land. It was supposed to be about partnership. It was supposed to be about shared stewardship. It was supposed to be about how we move forward together. And generation after generation of Canadian leadership did not live up to that. And that's why, over the past 3 years, we have made it a priority to repair that broken relationship, or to begin the work of repairing that relationship in respect, in partnership, and on 2 levels. First of all, on the level of the Crown Indigenous relationship, which means empowering communities to be in control of their own destiny, their own land, to be able to weigh in, to be able to develop self-governing models. A couple of days ago in Ottawa, I had the opportunity to sit down with the self-governing nations in Canada, and we had an excellent conversation about the challenges they're facing, but also how successful they've been in getting out from under the colonial relic that is the Indian Act. We need to move beyond the Indian Act. We need to make sure that people have opportunities to control their own destiny and build their future. And that is what we are doing. Now, the other side of things is realizing that Indigenous peoples in this country still live in conditions that are far worse than non-Indigenous people, whether it's boil water advisories, whether it's substandard housing, whether it's schools and medical centers that are not able to give them the support they need. There are huge problems in terms of the quality of life and the services offered to Indigenous peoples in their communities. And that's why we are significantly investing in those. We are trying to improve in an immediate way the quality of life in Indigenous communities across the country. But as we all know, there is an awful lot of work to do. And some places are moving faster than others. Some communities have a head start over others because of work that they've done in the past. And the other issue is, no matter how well-meaning the solutions might be from Ottawa in trying to say, well, this is what you need, if they are solutions sourced from the federal government, they cannot be the solution. The solutions need to come from Indigenous communities and Indigenous leaders themselves. And that is why, in some cases, it takes time to work with them to develop that path and those solutions. Now, there are also challenges. One of the challenges we're seeing with the Wet'suwet'en is that there are elected chiefs who have said one thing in support of the pipelines, and there are hereditary chiefs who are in disagreement. And these are things that need to be worked out, and they need to be worked out in respect, in partnership, in consultation, because we're doing something new in Canada. When we say we need to change our relationship with Indigenous peoples to be more respectful and a better partnership, that's not something we've done before. It's not something people around the world have been particularly good at, so we don't even have great models for that. So we are developing it, and there's going to be turbulence along the way. And I was pleased to see a reducing of the tensions yesterday in Wet'suwet'en, but there is still much more work to do as we figure out how to get our resources to new markets, get our resources. Canada will always be a country for all our investments in AI and science and the knowledge economy. We're always going to be a country that relies on natural resources, on people being innovative and thoughtful and hardworking to get our natural resources out to new markets. And that is something that we're going to have to figure out how to do together in new ways. And there are folks who are... Did she leave? Oh. There are folks who are impatient. And I'm impatient too, because we want to make it happen for real. But it is going to take time, and it's part of a process.